We're just as frustrated today as we were 35 years ago.
June 27, 1981 was a hot, sunny summer day in National Mine. Residents from all over Tilden Township gathered in the park for the annual picnic. Helen Dymond and her family were in attendance, watching friendly games of horseshoes, cribbage, and Helen's favorite, baseball. As the day dwindled and the sun set, the townspeople made their way to the local park to keep the party alive. At some point in the night, Helen's daughter Betsy and son-in-law Terry departed from the club to grab a bite to eat. Helen and her husband Roy declined an offer to join and stayed at the bar. As the night crept into the early hours of the morning, Roy left for home. Helen stayed. Sometime around 3:30 a.m., Helen left en route to her son's house, just a short trek from the bar.
Somehow or another along the way, something happened as she was walking to my brother's, and that's the last we know of it.
Something bad happened that night, whether it was intentional or unintentional.
Roy called his daughter Betsy soon after, inquiring about Helen's whereabouts. Betsy, unaware of where her mother was, assumed she was fine and dismissed his worries with a promise of calling around the next day if she didn't turn up. But as day broke on June 28th, Helen had not made it home. Frantic calls and walks around the area commenced as the family waited for their 24-hour window to close so they could contact police. With a large storm brewing overhead, the family called in Helen's disappearance. But they say their worries were only met with mild concern.
It was 9 days before they really got into search. Basically, the whole thing was kind of a botched up mess.
The family says they organized a search when no one else seemed interested in helping. Worried friends and family lined the streets, and they were soon joined by various emergency and police agencies. When nothing turned up from the search, the family rented a plane to scour over the pits scattered across Tilden Township. But alas, they came up empty-handed once more. Police involved with the case entertained the thought that Helen had just run away, maybe for an extramarital affair. A tip received by the police a week or so after her disappearance about a possible sighting of Helen in Ashland, Wisconsin supported this theory, but her family was adamant that the likelihood of that was slim.
For her to go on her own and everything like that, we checked the bank account and everything and watched it close, see if there was anything drawn on it and everything, and there was nothing.
She didn't just walk off on the side of the road and fall in a pit. She did not just walk off on her own and leave.
2 months rolled by and not a word was heard on Helen's whereabouts. Some vital parts of Helen's description, like her eye color and the detail of the clothing she was last seen in, were wrong in the police report, leading to an incorrect story run in the mining journal. An ad was placed by the family in the paper with the correct information. Not long after, a purple jacket identical to what Helen was last seen in was discovered close to where she disappeared. Betsy positively identified it, but the police were sure it wasn't hers since the jacket had not weathered. This was the last piece of news the family received for decades to come.
We're sure she was murdered.
I grew up without my grandmother because something happened, something bad, and we never got those answers. Answers for those of us that were robbed of knowing our grandmother, and enjoying that time with her.
35 years have passed since that fateful night, and still the family is left with more questions than answers. Holly, paired with her sister April, dug up the past to reveal a potentially more twisted plot than anyone could have imagined. Tune in tomorrow for part 2 as we explore the path Helen's young granddaughters have traveled in their search for answers. Reporting from National Mine for ABC 10 and the CW5, I'm Chelsea Birdsall.